Have you ever been on a plane, thousands of feet in the air, looked out the window and just thought, how is this even possible? How does this giant metal tube just hang out in the sky? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. We're going to peel back the layers on the miracle of modern flight, from its very first moments to the incredible machines we travel in today.
Because when you see an airliner sitting on the tarmac, you're not just looking at a machine. No, you're looking at over a century of dreams, of failures, of genius breakthroughs, all packed into one single incredible piece of engineering. And we're about to unpack it.
So, to really understand where we are now, we have to go way back to the very beginning, because the idea of flying, that dream, it's as old as humanity itself. But for most of history, that's all it was, a dream.
I mean, people tried everything. We told stories about wings made of wax and feathers, we invented kites, we floated in hot air balloons, and we built these rickety gliders. Lots of people got a piece of the puzzle, but nobody could put it all together. See, it wasn't just about getting off the ground. The real challenge was staying in control once you were up there.
And the final crucial piece of that puzzle didn't come from some famous university or a government lab. It came from two brothers who owned a bicycle shop in Ohio. The true genius of the Wright brothers wasn't just slapping an engine on a glider. It was their invention of three-axis control. It was the first system that let a pilot actually steer the plane up and down, left and right, and keep it level. That solved the whole problem.
And with that breakthrough, on a cold, windy morning in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, Orville Wright did what no one had ever done before. The first successful, powered, controlled flight in history. And how long did it last? Just 12 seconds. In those 12 seconds, their little plane, the Wright Flyer, traveled just 120 feet. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that is shorter than the wingspan of a modern Boeing 747 jumbo jet. A tiny, tiny hop for a machine, but an absolutely giant leap for all of us.
But they weren't done. They actually made 4 flights that day, with the longest one lasting almost a full minute. And then, after all that success, a big gust of wind came along and just wrecked their little plane. It was so damaged it never flew again. But it didn't matter. The secret was out. Humanity could fly. So how in the world did we get from that fragile little wood and fabric flyer to the massive, powerful jets we have today? Well, a huge part of the story is about the materials we build them with.
And the evolution here is just staggering. The Wright Flyer was made of spruce wood and muslin fabric, basically sticks and cloth. Today's airliners are this sophisticated cocktail of aluminum, titanium, and advanced composites. The whole challenge shifted from just trying to get enough lift to this constant balancing act between strength, weight, and of course, fuel efficiency. Now, the real game changer in modern planes has been composites, especially carbon fiber. This stuff is amazing. It's ridiculously strong, but it's also incredibly light. It doesn't rust, and you can mold it into these really complex aerodynamic shapes that are way more efficient. In fact, next time you're on a flight, just look around. You are literally surrounded by composites. They're in your seat, the overhead bins, the panels on the wall, everywhere.
And it's all about using the right tool for the job. Engineers use lightweight plastics for all those interior parts to save on fuel. But for the parts that absolutely positively cannot fail, the hidden stuff, like the tracks your seat is bolted to or the latches on the cargo doors, that's where they use super strong metal alloys that can handle incredible forces.
All right, so you've got this amazingly light and strong body, but it's just a fancy glider without some serious power. So let's talk about the heart of a modern airplane, the engines. This is where things get really wild.
The first planes, including that Wright Flyer, used what are called reciprocating engines. You can basically think of a car engine. You've got pistons moving back and forth in cylinders, turning a crankshaft, which then spins a propeller. It totally works, but it definitely has its limits.
Modern jets use something totally different. It's the gas turbine engine, the jet engine. And its secret weapon is that instead of the clunky start-stop motion of pistons, everything in a jet engine happens all at once, continuously. And that creates a smooth, unbelievable torrent of uninterrupted power.
So how does it do it? Well, it's this beautiful 4-step dance. Step 1, intake. The front of the engine sucks in a massive amount of air. Step 2, compression. A series of huge fan blades squeezes that air down, making it super dense and pressurized. Step 3, combustion. Fuel gets sprayed into that squeezed air and lit on fire, creating a controlled, continuous explosion.
And finally, step 4, exhaust. All of that hot gas blasts out the back at incredible speed, pushing the plane forward. It's just genius.
Okay, so you've got all this incredible power, all this amazing material science, but none of it would mean a thing if flying wasn't safe. So let's pull back the curtain on the invisible systems that are working around the clock to keep us safe up there.
Aircraft maintenance has completely transformed over the years. I mean, it started out as a pretty reactive job. If something broke, you fixed it. But now, we're deep in the digital era. Modern jets are covered in sensors that are constantly sending data back to the ground, allowing computers to predict that a part is going to fail before it actually does.
And the foundation for all of this technology is a massive, comprehensive rulebook, the Federal Aviation Regulations. These rules literally dictate every single detail of how an aircraft is designed, built, and operated. For example, check out this rule. It's a federal law that says a manufacturer has to prove that a completely full plane can be evacuated by everyone on board in 90 seconds or less, using only half the exits. Think about that. That single rule influences everything from the width of the aisles to the materials in the carpet. Here's another one. Fire detection systems have to alert the pilots within 1 minute of a fire starting anywhere on the plane. Just 60 seconds. That 1 minute can be the difference between a minor problem and a major disaster. And maybe the most important safety principle of all is redundancy. Basically, for any critical system on an airplane, there has to be a backup. And sometimes there's even a backup for the backup. The navigation computers, the flight controls, the radios, everything has a plan B. A single point of failure is just not acceptable.
Which kind of brings us full circle, right back to where we started. From that first fragile little flight at Kitty Hawk, the legacy of what the Wright brothers started has traveled farther than they ever could have dreamed.
This is just an incredible story. Tiny little pieces of the original 1903 Wright Flyer have actually been to space. Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, took a piece of its propeller and fabric with him on Apollo 11. It's been on the space shuttle, it's been to the International Space Station, and most amazingly of all, a tiny scrap of that original wing cloth was taped to the Ingenuity helicopter on Mars.
So when that little drone lifted off the surface of Mars, NASA called it, quote, the first powered, controlled flight on another world. A direct echo of the Wrights' achievement, physically connected by a tiny thread of fabric from over 100 years ago.
So from a 12-second flight on a windy beach to a 39-second flight on another planet, all connected by a single revolutionary idea. It just shows you how far a dream can take us. The only question left is, where do we go from here?